small wonder won't be seen tonight, so we can bring you a very special episode of The Gen X Files. Welcome to The Gen X Files. I'm Jim.
I'm Adam.
And today's show is all about Ruthless People.
Ruthless People.
Oh, Mick Jagger's greatest song ever.
Oh, man, it was weird.
Yeah.
I mean, the movie's great.
Ruthless People.
It's just that was around the time when they were like, hey, we got to have a theme song written directly for the movie.
There was the time where everybody was doing horrible music. Like,
Yeah.
Especially Mick Jagger. And I love Mick Jagger. But, Dancing in the Streets with him and Bowie is
Oh, no, it was 80s. 80s Rolling Stones is not good Rolling Stones.
Oh, and they put a lot of really embarrassing 80s songs. One of Billy Joel's worst.
Modern Woman, which, is not good.
Yeah.
Which is saying a lot because it's Billy Joel.
Look, old Billy Joel is great. Like 70s Billy Joel?
Yeah.
Like back when he was hungry?
I have no issue with Billy Joel. Even some of his early 80s stuff I don't have an issue with. Just this song is not good.
No. Most of his 80s stuff isn't good. Uptown Girl,
His
that
90s
whole
stuff was real bad.
Yeah. F you, Billy Joel.
We didn't start the fire, man.
We didn't start the fire.
He's so funny. He hates that song so much.
Well, he's not the only one.
He's just like, he'll literally be in concert and be like, I hate this song, but you guys want to hear it, so here we go.
And then he changes the tune to, you're a bunch of boot duty heads. I really hate you.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
Anyway, so this is the beginning of our most unexpected month.
Yeah, baby. It's our bad boy Bill Pullman month, man.
God, I literally had forgotten. We decided to do this a long time ago, and I had totally forgotten that we had decided to do it.
I love Bill Pullman. And I don't think Bill Pullman gets enough due.
I agree. And I think he's great.
I think that he deserves a month. Now, are we doing Bill Pullman's best movies this month? Maybe.
I mean, we're doing most of them I haven't seen, so
Yeah,
I mean...
It's early stuff. This is early Bill. Bill Pullman, his career is fascinating to me because he started out in this movie, was his first movie, right?
Yes.
Brilliantly dumb. I mean...
comedy. Like, good comedic timing.
Great timing. Plays dumb like nobody's business.
So well.
So well, almost.
Yeah.
And then we're going to do Serpent and the Rainbow, which is a really weird,
bizarre Wes Craven
film. Yeah. And one thing I remember that is he takes a steak to the peen.
Oh.
Yeah.
God, I see. Maybe I haven't seen that. I thought I had, but I don't know.
It's nuts. And then a movie I don't know if I've seen or don't remember.
Brain Dead.
Brain Dead.
I've definitely not seen that. So.
And then he goes on to do Spaceballs, and now the guy is transformed into one of the greatest dramatic actors of our time.
Yeah.
That show he does, The Sinner.
Oh yeah. Isn't it? It's like kind of an anthology show. Like each season is about a certain case. Yeah.
And he's got a lot of issues. He's a cop with it. I mean, it's a really interesting performance.
Yeah.
And it's just raw, and it just shows what a great actor he is. I've always loved Bill Pullman.
Yeah.
I had a huge talent crush as soon as I saw this. And I've seen just about everything he's done.
Every time he would pop up in something, I'd be like, oh hey, the movie would be better. And that is also very true for Ruthless People.
And he's not your typical leading man either.
No.
He's kind of got this weird way of talking, and he's kind of weird. He's good looking, but he's not great looking. You know what I mean?
Especially with those frosted tips.
Oh my God! Oh, so funny. Sometimes when a guy can seamlessly go between comedy and drama, it does hurt them.
Yeah.
Strangely enough.
Yeah. It doesn't. It would definitely seem like he shouldn't have as big of a career as he did.
Yeah.
He was very lucky. I mean, he happened upon some really popular movies.
Right. And nailed it in them.
And did well.
Yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong. It's amazing to me to think that Bill Pullman, that was in Ruthless People, would eventually lead America to fight aliens.
It's our Independence Day.
And he would be so inspiring, and it's like, oh, okay, that shows range.
From the dumbest man on the planet to the President of the United States. That's our Bill Pullman.
We're not talking about George W. Bush.
Oh, God, thank God.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, He was in Casper, Independence Day, While You Were Sleeping.
I mean, even just Spaceballs. But Spaceballs was like, he started doing leads pretty quickly after this. Because Spaceballs was like 87.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's not that people didn't realize how good he was. It's just, he was just in some really weird, had such a weird career.
Yeah. I mean, the romantic comedy While You Were Sleeping, was that with
Sandra Bullock?
Sandra Bullock,
Yeah.
She like... pretends he's his fiance. He comes out of a coma or something.
I think it's his
brother
or somebody.
Yeah.
And then or something like that. And then he's anyway. It's been a long time since I've seen that movie.
They fall in love.
Yeah, they fall in love.
But yeah. Now, Ruthless People, to get back to the topic at hand.
Yes.
It's a definite guilty pleasure of mine. I remember seeing this in the theater. I was a huge Zaz fan.
Yeah.
And I'm not David Zaslav.
No.
He's the anti-Zaz.
He co-opted the Zaz name.
Yeah. But I'm talking the Zucker brothers.
Yeah, and Jim Abrams. I
was exposed to them so early.
Yeah.
And they're to me, like, I didn't really understand sketch when it first started. To me, it was the personification of Mad Magazine.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Completely.
And that's why I loved it.
Oh, same.
And then when my sister went to see Kentucky Fried Movie and just kept talking about it and talking about it and talking about it. And, of course, I couldn't see it in the theater because I was just a baby boy.
And you were 5, yeah.
But, man, when that baby came on, oh, my God. I must have watched
that
movie 1,000 times.
I of course, the first thing I'd seen the Zaz do was Airplane, of course, I think most people. But when I discovered Kentucky Fried Movie, I want to say, I think I might have actually been in college. Like, it was a while.
Oh, yeah.
And when I finally saw it, it was like, oh, my God. Yeah. These guys are brilliant.
It was awesome. And as a kid, you came for the boobs, but you stayed for the comedy.
So many boobs. But so funny.
Oh,
the thing
God.
is so funny.
Oh, ridiculously funny. I mean, it was better than The Groove Tube. It was better than any other sketch movie out there. And no offense to that. The Groove Tube was a pretty funny movie, but they nailed it in a way that was so perfect. And it's a bunch of sketches in one huge chunk of a Bruce Lee movie.
Yeah, long. It's like 40 minutes long.
It's like, about half of the movie is the one parody. Yeah. But it's so great.
But it's done so well.
So perfect.
And it showed how they can do movies like Airplane.
Yeah.
And Airplane 2 and Top Secret, which is one of my favorite guilty pleasures.
Oh, yeah. No guilt there, man. It's a funny movie.
I love Val Kilmer back in the day.
But this was different for them because they actually were telling a story.
Yeah.
I
think the reason I had never seen this is, well, number one, I don't think I realized it was Zaz that did it. But number two, it was not like a sketch movie.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh, okay, like it's just a movie with there's a plot, guy wants to kill his wife and, whatever. But like knowing that it was Zaz and seeing the movie now, it definitely, you can see the influence.
Oh, 100%. And I think one of the main problems with the movie is straddling that line between absurdist comedy and telling a story. And I think they did pretty well for that.
Yeah.
I think the comedy really fit into what they were trying to portray.
Right. I think a big part of that were the people they cast.
That's what I was going to say.
They knew what they were in.
The cast elevated this beyond what it should have been.
Yes.
And Bette Midler, at the height of her comedy, the height of her stardom, really.
Yeah.
She had just come off of Beverly. What was it?
It was
Down and Out Beverly Hills?
same year as Down and Out Beverly. Yeah.
But she had been a big star, and then she had lost all this weight, and of course everybody was weight obsessed back then.
Yeah.
In the 80s, we were all crazy. And that's why all of us have body dysmorphia.
Yeah.
All the women because of the models and all that stuff, and all the men because of Arnold and Sylvester.
Yeah.
I just got to mention, I was telling you this the other day. It's so bizarre that the two biggest action heroes of the 80s were named Arnold and Sylvester.
Well, yeah. I mean, but they also went by Stallone and Schwarzenegger.
Sure.
So, I mean, or Arnie and Sly. But you're right. I mean, Sylvester is not a name that I would use for a action star.
80s were weird, baby.
I'm Sylvester Cobretti. Doesn't really work.
My brother Frank got the good name, but I got the talent. But I saw this in the theater. Huge Judge Reinhold fan Fast Times.
Yeah.
Loved Helen Slater.
Oh, she's so good.
I enjoyed Supergirl. I remember watching that weird incest movie with Christian Slater.
That is a guilty pleasure for me.
Supergirl?
Supergirl, yeah.
Or,
and actually, The Legend of Billie Jean is too.
Legend of Billie Jean.
I enjoyed that movie. It was one of those that was on all the time when I was young.
Sweaty blonde incest movie.
Yeah, she'd cutting her hair and.
Yeah, man, because she was a badass.
Okay, it's not an incest movie.
All right, well, we'll have to agree to disagree, but I don't know. I haven't seen it in a long time. It just seemed like there was a weird vibe between the two of them.
Talking out your ass. All right.
But I remember seeing this movie in the theater because it was a Zaz movie and it had a bunch of people that I loved, and I had a really good time. I mean, is it the best comedy in the world? No. But it is definitely fun, and we definitely had a good time watching it yesterday.
Yeah.
Because it's been decades since I've seen it.
Yeah.
And it's a great time capsule to the garishness of the 80s.
Oh
I mean,
God.
if you want to see the garish excess of the 80s.
So, anybody that watches this movie will never want to relive the 80s. Let's not bring it back. Let's not bring it back.
Huge shoulder pads, giant hair.
That awful furniture.
Yes, the Italian,
Awful.
what was it, Italian extremist?
Italian radical design.
Italian radical design.
Yeah.
Those eye towels. The Italians.
Really? You had to explain your racism? That's cool.
Yes.
As a first-time viewer of seeing this movie, it is, like you said, it's not my favorite comedy. There are certain scenes that were hysterical.
Oh, yeah.
And done really well. And the acting is impeccable. I mean, the actors are so good. I've never hated Danny DeVito so much
Oh, my God.
in a movie than I did in this. He's so despicable.
So hateable. And Judge Reinhold's physical comedy
God,
prowess
so
is
good.
insane.
How he was not a bigger star blows my mind.
Yeah, we're going to have to talk about that because that really bothers me because he's
so good. He's
so good.
charming and so endearing. Like, he's so earnest.
Yes, you really believe he's a nice person.
Yeah.
One of the greatest scenes in that movie is him explaining to his wife, Christian Slater. Nope. His wife, Helen Slater, that they need to be ruthless. They need to be mean, and they need to, nobody else cares. And all the while, he's carefully getting the spider.
Saving a harvester spider.
Saving a spider delicately, and he gets it outside, and he closes the door, and then he opens the door and steps on the spider to show that he's ruthless.
he's ruthless.
But you can see on his face he did not enjoy stepping on the spider. Anyway, let's get started. It's a really different kind of movie. And if you haven't seen it, I think you're going to really enjoy it once you do.
All right, take yourself back to 1986.
Yeah.
April 17th, British journalist John McCarthy is kidnapped in Beirut, and 3 others are killed in retaliation for the bombing of Libya. McCarthy is released in August of 1991.
Good Lord.
He was in captivity for 4.5 years. Yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah, and it's a lot
in Libya.
Yeah, it's not like you're staying in any nice country club prison.
April 26th, a mishandled safety test at the Chernobyl nuclear power plant in Pripyat, Ukraine, and the Soviet Union killed at least 4,056 people and damaged almost $7 billion of property.
Good Lord.
Radioactive fallout from the accident is concentrated near Belarus, Ukraine, and Russia, and at least 350,000 people are forcibly resettled away from these areas. After the accident, traces of radioactive deposits unique to Chernobyl were in nearly every country in the Northern Hemisphere.
Yeah, of course. There was a hilarious series on HBO called Chernobyl.
Hilarious. Yeah.
Starring Jim Varney.
Hey,
Vern.
Hey, oh, God, there's a beep. There's a beep.
Beep, beep, beep. What did I do? It is really funny. No.
It's so good.
This scared the crap out of everybody.
Yeah.
And it also, unfortunately, because the truth about nuclear power is it's very safe.
It is. It really is.
It's very efficient.
It should be used by everybody everywhere.
It is a much better system than coal or fossil fuels or any of that garbage. But unfortunately, because of this incident and
3 Mile
Island, people don't trust nuclear power.
No, which in both cases, it came down to human error.
Right.
It was not mechanical failure.
Exactly.
So, I mean, technically the technology is still good.
Yes.
But I understand when it kills over 4,000 people and literally 250,000 people have to leave, you'll think twice.
More than 250,000.
Yeah. Chernobyl is
of a million
such
people.
such a good miniseries. Highly recommend it.
It is not
on
funny.
HBO. It is not funny at all.
And Jim Varney is not in it.
Jim found it really funny, but he's Jim.
But I'm a sociopath.
It's so good. But yeah, I remember when this was going on and just seeing the pictures of the towers like constantly showing on the news. They would use it as like the little Chiron thing.
Yeah.
You know?
I thought it happened later, honestly.
Yeah. No, 86, yeah.
Now I know.
Yeah. June 4th, Jonathan Pollard pleads guilty to espionage for selling top secret United States military intelligence to Israel.
Israel?
Yep.
Okay.
June 27th,
Well, wait a minute.
Wait.
They're our ally, but that's still...
That doesn't mean that we share everything with them.
That's true.
There's going to be stuff that we don't... I mean, you know, just because you're married to somebody for 40 years doesn't mean you tell them everything.
Yes, you do. That's the key to a successful marriage, Adam, is communication and honesty.
Everybody's got secrets,
That's why I've been married for 30 years.
Yeah, secretly.
To no one.
Yeah. It's just I thought it was interesting because it is very uncommon to get arrested for selling secrets to an ally.
Yeah, and that puts the ally in a pretty crappy place.
Yeah.
It's funny, I guess since Hansen, the guy that was selling the Soviet secrets, they did a movie about him. I was going to say Chris Hansen, but it's not. Chris Hansen's the guy from To Catch a Predator. But
He's a great actor.
But there hasn't really been any espionage cases since then, right? A couple, maybe.
No, I mean, beyond technically, wasn't there some politicians recently that didn't...
Trump gave away secrets to Israel.
The Democrat guy who was hiding all the gold, wasn't he technically...
He wasn't selling secrets.
Oh, I thought he was. Okay.
He was taking bribes.
Yeah.
He was...
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
It was a bribery case.
Right. Anyway, yeah, it doesn't really happen anymore.
It's a lot easier to get into secrets and stuff. It's all cyber warfare kind of stuff.
Yeah. I mean, I think they're more worried about China hacking into the Pentagon than they are someone just turn around selling that stuff.
Less human assets in espionage.
Although the espionage stuff still happens. Like I had just seen when we did that trade with Russia.
Yeah.
And there was a family living in Spain that literally the two kids were 14 and 15 and had no idea that their parents were actually Russian. They had lived in Spain for so long. They didn't know that they were Russian until they got on a plane and went to Moscow to meet with their father.
That's like La Femme Nikita. No,
that was
like Little Nikita.
Little
right?
Nikita. Little Nikita?
Yeah, the one with was that what it's called?
No.
It was Little something with
Little Nicky?
No, that's a very different movie. No, this is the one with River Phoenix and Judd Hirsch. And Judd Hirsch is his dad, and his dad and his mom were Russian spies.
Maybe that is Little Nikita.
And he goes on the run with, I think, Sidney Poitier. I think
really?
he's the guy.
I don't know. I don't think I've ever seen that.
We'll definitely cover this one.
Well, it's kind of the Americans a little bit.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I don't know. I'd never watched the show, so I don't know if the kids knew or not. But
the Russians were, and us too, but they were very big on planting... long-term families.
Long-term, yeah.
It was like, try to get a job at a nuclear plant or something.
I just can't imagine being growing up in Spain, and then suddenly it's well, you live in Moscow now.
Ugh, how horrible.
Yeah, exactly.
What a bummer that would be.
Oh. Anyway, June 27th, Ruthless People is released in theaters.
Ruthless People!
Yeah, that's right. I can hit the high notes once in a while.
You can hit them better than me.
Ruthless People starts with David Zucker, Jim Abrams, and Jerry Zucker, collectively known as
Zaz.
David Zucker, Jim Abrams, and Jerry Zucker knew each other as children while growing up in Shorewood, Wisconsin, and while attending Shorewood High School, which is sometimes referenced in their work.
Nice. That's cool that they were friends as kids.
Yeah. While attending the University of Wisconsin-Madison, the trio founded a small theater known as the Kentucky Fried Theater in 1971.
Oh, yeah, baby.
They started sketch comedy. 5 years later, they would get their first writing credit for Big John, Little John. Do you remember Big John, Little John?
100%. It's so funny when I read the script. It all came flooding back to me.
There is only one episode available online, and it's on archive.org. It's the pilot. And it is so weird.
Yeah. I definitely want to watch
weird. that. Big John, Little John was a Saturday morning it wasn't a cartoon, Saturday morning sitcom starring Herb Edelman, most famous for playing Stanley, Dorothy's ex-husband on The Golden Girls, and Robbie Rist, who is most famous for playing Cousin Oliver on The Brady Bunch.
Yes. wildly seen as the reason why the Brady Bunch ended.
Yes. It was about a man named John accidentally drinking from the Fountain of Youth in Florida, which causes him to randomly become a kid for short amounts of time.
The weirdest effing show, man.
Yeah.
That was the beauty. Saturday mornings were the domain of children.
It was so weird.
And they would put on some of the weirdest crap ever. And the pre-selling toys cartoons, like the Mutant Ninja Turtles and
like
G.I. Joes and Transformers.
Right.
Where they were just coming up with weird Scooby-Doo ripoffs like Jabberjaw.
Yeah, because they wanted to sell
Olympics.
toys. Yeah.
These were nothing. Yeah, this was just like pure weirdness. Sid and Marty Krofft.
So weird. Yeah.
Like, I cannot tell you how many times the old man stumbled in. What the hell are you watching?
I love the concept for this because he would randomly just become a kid, and then he would go to school, and he was a teacher, so he would hang out with his students while there was like a sub, and then the next day he would be big again, and then it was just so weird.
It was weird. So much of Saturday morning was high concept.
Yeah.
Bad execution.
Unfortunately, it only ran for 13 episodes, but Zaz wrote the last episode.
Ooh, got to see that.
If you can find it, I tried. I tried to find it. It's not streaming anywhere.
It's not on the tubes?
No, I tried. They would take inspiration from their sketch comedy background and write the Kentucky Fried Movie in 1977. It was directed by John Landis and launched their careers, making over $7 million from a $600,000 budget.
To this day, I think it's the greatest sketch movie ever made.
I agree.
I don't think... I mean, look, I haven't seen it in quite a while. I'm sure there's a lot of stuff that is...
Yeah.
It
There's
doesn't age well.
definitely some stuff that's a little risque.
But it is so absolutely difficult to make a sketch movie that works.
Yeah.
Look at that weird movie they made a few years ago that had every star in the world.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm talking
movie
about?
43.
Yeah.
Which was awful.
Horrible.
Awful.
It just shows that you don't need stars, you need writers.
Yes, you need to have better writers.
And it worked well because it didn't have a unifying conceit.
Yeah.
But it kind of did a little bit like it was kind of like watching TV.
Yeah,
It's like changing channels.
Yeah.
Very Mad Magazine because it was so spot on.
Yeah.
With its parody.
It was so funny. Literally the opening. News at 11. The popcorn you're eating has been pissed in.
Yes.
Or the film at 11.
And the news people watching the couple, make love. They're like, wow, ooh, and then they turn, oh God. It was
Feel-a-rama, Big Jim Slade. Like, that movie's so good.
So good.
Oh my God.
So many quotable lines.
Yeah.
And 40 years later, there still hasn't been anything to match it.
No.
I can't think of another sketch movie that was really, except I don't really call it a sketch movie, but Brain Candy was a great one.
Which is, that's more in line of like Airplane or Top Secret, where it has an actual plot.
More of a spoofer than a sketcher. But
But it's definitely a series of sketches.
Yes.
But it's great.
Groove Tube was really good, but again, that was in the 70s as well. You know?
Brain Candy is one of my favorite comedies of all time.
Amazing.
But it's right up there with Kentucky Fried Movie.
Sure.
Both of them, I can watch it any time and it'll be funny.
We have to cover Kentucky Fried Movie soon because
we'll do a sketch comedy month.
It's funny. I've been really itching to watch Buckaroo Banzai, so I forced a month for Buckaroo Banzai coming up. I have to do that with Kentucky Fried Movie too.
I'm always down for Kentucky Fried Movie. It's so good.
And I just remember, and I mentioned this before, but my sister came back from that movie, and I have never been more jealous of her. Seeing something because she was just like, and she's trying to tell us all, and the folks weren't really getting it, especially the old man.
Right.
But I was just eating it up, and and I just couldn't wait for it to come on. I'd wait like 2 or 3 years probably before it came on cable. But I must have seen that movie 1,000 times.
While the Kentucky Fried Movie was a series of unconnected sketches, they took that basic premise and added a plot line to make Airplane in 1980. Technically, they just stole the plot of the 1957 film 0 Hour, but played for gags.
Yep.
I mean, literally, there's entire scenes where the dialogue is lifted straight from 0 Hour.
Oh, yeah. It just told in a... The brilliance of that movie is they got some of the greatest serious actors of the 50s and 60s.
Yeah.
Leslie Nielsen was not... Did not done any comedy.
He was a serious drama actor.
100%. And it never...
But that worked so well for this.
Same with Robert Stack.
Yeah.
Same with...
all of them, yeah.
Greaves, the guy that played the pilot. Graves, Peter Graves.
Peter Graves.
Yeah.
Peter Graves.
They all were just these stalwart. Peter Graves was freaking Elliot Ness, wasn't he?
No, that was Robert Stack.
Robert Stack. Stack was Elliot Ness.
Stack was Elliot Ness.
But that's the thing. It's like these guys, and the beauty of it is they played it.
They played it perfectly seriously.
Straight as a board.
It was the best example of how you do comedy right.
Yes.
Because you do not play for laughs.
No.
You are in that situation and you do it and it will be funny.
The definition of deadpan comedy
Oh my God,
was Leslie
so
Nielsen in that
good.
movie.
It's funny because I was watching Golden Girls last night and Peter Graves was on it and I literally could not remember his name. And I was like, I know him from something. He was playing a newscaster who lived with his mother. He was trying to date Blanche
Nice.
and his mother controlled him. It was really funny. But again, also he was very like serious.
Yeah.
But I totally forgot that he played the pilot in I don't feel so well.
You ever seen a grown man naked?
It's so
You like wrestling movies, Billy?
You ever seen a Gladiator movie?
And oh my God, and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
Oh, so great.
My dad says that Kareem. You did, and oh my God,
He just wanted to murder that kid.
we could sit here for an hour and quote that movie.
So good. It's so good.
It is so good. I remember even though the experience of seeing that movie was kind of horrible for me,
Yeah.
the stepdad took me because I just needed to see that movie.
Yeah.
And he liked comedy, so he would, occasionally he'd take me. Getting
Right.
him to go to the movies was the hardest thing in the world because you couldn't smoke.
Oh, yeah.
So you'd have to go out and, smoke in the lobby. But man, I think he was probably lit. And we're sitting in there, and there's that scene with the chaos in the movie and the boobies.
Where they come jiggling by.
And he's like, up, cover him up. Just that loud. Up, don't walk it back. And trying to put his eyes over me. It's like
His
his
hands
hand
over
over my eyes
yeah.
like a joke or whatever. Oh, God, it was like, it was so horrifying. But it was worth it to see that movie. There was two movies that I conned him into taking me to. That one and The Jerk.
Yeah.
Paid a price for the rest of my life. Be careful what you wish for, man.
Yeah.
Oh.
Listen to our episode on The Jerk.
Yeah, if you want to know.
To know how Jim paid for watching that movie.
A lifetime
Yeah.
of insecurities and yes.
So Airplane was their first directing effort, creating the almost unheard of ongoing directing trio. I tried to do research on other directing trios that did more than just one movie.
Yeah.
And I don't think there are any.
It's a lot of people, man.
It is a lot of people to direct.
Even two. I've co-directed a couple
Yeah.
of things, and it can either go smoothly or it can be the biggest pain in the ass there is. Because
too many cooks in the kitchen.
yeah, and if you don't define your roles right away, if you don't
Right.
figure everything out before you start,
Yeah, pre-production.
exactly. Who's going to deal with the actors? Who's going to deal with the shots? Who's
Yeah.
going to deal with this? You have to have you can't just get up on set and be like, well, what do you think? Well, I don't know. What do you think? I think this is great. Well, I think this is stupid.
It's called a director.
Yeah.
You have to have direction.
Yes. And unless you're completely simpatico, like the Coen brothers,
Yeah.
and I know that one takes
And they
producer and one takes
but they have their thing figured out. I mean, I'm sure they pre-plan together. And then
course.
there's I don't remember. One of them is on set. Essentially, the other one's kind of hanging out. And
I think one of
Yeah.
them kind of does the shots and one of them does the actors, that
Yeah.
kind of thing. I don't know. I don't know. I haven't been on their set, but
yeah,
but yeah, I mean, a triple.
it's just
Right,
a
that's-
lot. That's a lot going on.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that they've been friends since grade school,
Yeah.
makes me think that they're pretty simpatico.
Yeah,
Like,
totally. I mean,
you know.
they can probably finish each other.
Sandwiches?
Yes, exactly.
I hate that joke so much. Please forgive me. But yeah, I mean, but what a joy, man. You're could you imagine?
Yeah.
Like, I couldn't imagine because the friends I had growing up were idiots. But but your two best friends from childhood, you get to
Having
grow
a
up
career?
and just make the funniest movies. Oh, just
Yeah.
sit and laugh all day long.
Just making goofy, silly movies.
What
Yeah.
they hit the lottery, baby.
Yeah. Airplane would make $171 million from a $3.5 million budget.
Juggernaut, baby.
Huge.
Juggernaut.
Huge.
Everybody saw that movie. Everybody was quoting that movie.
Yeah.
Because people hadn't seen anything like that, really.
People still quote that movie.
That might have been the first real successful spoof movie
Yeah.
that I can think of.
Yeah. I'm definitely the most successful spoof movie.
Yeah.
For sure.
But I mean, there was like a few things sort of before, like In Like Flint was kind of like a
Was it?
spy.
Kind of a spy spoof? Yeah.
Kind of, but more like, a comedy. It wasn't really
Yeah.
like directly spoofing James Bond or
Right,
anything, but it
right.
was kind of had that vibe. But this was the first directly spoofing a film. It was
Yeah.
the first kind of Mad Magazine
Right. Right.
full-length feature film.
Yeah, it really was. In 1982, they wrote and directed the pilot for Police Squad, which would end up running for only 6 episodes before being canceled.
God, I love that show.
They actually wanted to make it a feature film, but had issues coming up with a good plot. Michael Eisner offered them a 6-episode TV series, which they reluctantly agreed to.
It's a weird thing to go from movies to TV.
Yeah. Well, and especially when the concept was originally supposed to be a movie, it's like, well, how do I, stretch this out into a full season?
Well, especially if you can't come up with a good
And
plot
if
for
you
a
don't have
movie.
plot line, like, what do you do? I mean, yeah.
So many great gags in that, though. The guy whose face, his head, he was so tall, his head was always out of the frame.
Oh,
and then
yeah, yeah.
Like he'd be eating something, and like a
Just
turkey would
Stuff
fall.
would fall down, yeah. Later, it would be the basis for The Naked Gun from the Files of the Police Squad film, also starring Leslie Nielsen in 1988.
Leslie Nielsen owned 80s comedy.
Oh, my God.
Owned it.
It was because of Zaz. It
Yeah.
was because of Airplane.
Yes.
And everyone was like, holy moly, he is so good.
The spoof king. And you could not make a spoof movie without him.
Yeah.
I mean, all the way until
Until the mid-90s.
Yeah.
I mean, because
Until he died.
He did pretty much until he died, yeah.
Yeah, because he did like
such a goofy, weird guy.
with his fart machine.
Yes.
I love him so much, though, because he's just a kid, man.
He is.
Guys like him who realize that they won the lottery.
Yeah.
And they just want to live and have fun and enjoy the business because of the absurdity of it.
Right.
To float around in it the way he did and own it. That's how you do it.
Yeah.
Be a Leslie Nielsen.
They would write and direct Top Secret in 1984, starring Val Kilmer and featuring an actual plot like Airplane. Although it's a very thin plot.
How silly can you get?
I love this movie so much.
silly can
It
you
actually
get?
really is up there for me with Airplane.
Oh, yeah.
And it's not as good. I mean, the gags aren't as good, but
No.
it is so. Val Kilmer is so charming and endearing.
Oh my
in that
God!
movie.
It's got great gags. It's a great send up of the World War II spy movies,
yeah.
and it's just the problem is there were so many wacky and weird comedies that came after.
Yeah, so many
Airplane,
so
yeah.
many pale comparison. not
But some
comparison.
good stuff too.
It's- yeah.
But like it was waning. Dead Men Don't Wear Plaid. Excellent movie.
Yeah.
Didn't do well.
Yeah.
Steve Martin did a lot of those kind of Man with Two Brains.
Yeah.
In that same kind of wacky
Yeah,
genre.
absurdist kind of, yeah.
And I think by the time that Top Secret came out,
Secret, yeah.
I think there was a little bit of fatigue.
That's what I'm
A little
trying
bit
to
of
say.
silly
A little bit of
fatigue.
Yeah, it would only make $20.5 million from a $9 million budget. It has since become a very large cult hit.
Oh, yeah.
People love it.
I saw it in the theater. I loved it. I think it was just a victim of its timing rather than
Yeah. How good it actually
exactly
was.
because
Yeah.
it was
Quality's
really
up there. Yeah,
Yeah, I
for
mean,
sure.
we're gonna do a Zaz month with that, an Airplane,
Yeah.
a Kentucky Fried Movie,
Yeah.
and it's gonna be the best month of our lives.
Michael Eisner would become the head of Disney after working with the trio at Paramount. He called up Zaz and with a script they might be interested in.
Hey, Zaz, I got a script you might be interested in, guys.
According to David Zucker, Eisner
Said he had a script that we wouldn't be able to turn down, and he was right. It was too good. It was very well written with great characters, and hey, we wouldn't have to leave town to do it.
Ruthless People was written by Dale Launer.
Okay.
Launer was the son of actor S. John Launer. Launer was well known for playing a district court judge on Perry Mason for 9 years.
Yes.
The father.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was the one that Perry Mason would be, all right, Judge.
Yeah.
It's not the guy in it. It's you.
Yeah.
I did it. I was the one. I'm in the gallery. I'll confess.
It was so exhausting to be that judge because every time he was presiding over court, it was interrupted by some...
Right. It would be the most frustrating job in the world.
Could one of these times, Perry, could you arrest the right dude?
If you go to the courtroom next door, it's really boring there.
Yeah. I don't like to do it that way, Judge. I'm an exhibitionist.
S. John Lawner was also injured in a stagecoach accident while acting in an episode of Laramie in 1960, which would require one of his legs to be amputated.
Oh, my God.
During a show. It was during a shoot.
Yeah.
Ugh.
And they gave him an extra $25 for this trouble.
Here's
a cane and $25.
Dale, the son, his first successful screenplay was Ruthless People. He would go on to write the screenplays for Blind Date in 1987.
That was Bruce Willis's first movie, I believe.
Yeah, I think so. The first one they were trying to make him into a big star.
Blake Edwards directed it. Blake Edwards was another juggernaut in 70s, 80s comedy.
Yeah.
But it was kind of, John Larroquette was in it. Hilarious. Do you remember him?
Yeah. Well, yes, I know who John Larroquette is.
Well, no, I mean,
I don't remember him in the movie. I know I've seen it. I don't remember him in the movie.
It's very 80s. Phil Hartman is like his brother or brother-in-law, and they set him up, and he's like, she goes crazy if she gets drunk. Because the wife's like, don't get her drunk because she goes crazy. And he's like, oh, she goes crazy when she drinks. So the whole thing, it's actually pretty effed up. I mean, the whole movie is basically Kim Basinger, when she drinks, goes nuts.
Gets nuts, yeah.
And so they have a crazy night.
Yeah.
And then he realizes he loves her and blah, blah, blah. But she's supposed to marry John Larroquette, who's a frickin' psycho in it. But it's okay.
Okay. I haven't seen it in a long time, but very
80s.
Yeah. Dale Lawner would also write Dirty Rotten Scoundrels in 1988, which is a phenomenal movie. He also wrote My Cousin Vinny and Love Potion No. 9, which both came out in 1992. Ruthless People shares similarities with the O. Henry story, The Ransom of Red Chief, a turn-of-the-century story about two con men who kidnap the rambunctious 10-year-old son of a widowed businessman for ransom. The businessman refuses to pay the ransom, happy to have his unruly son gone, and the son proves to be a difficult captive. The criminals end up deciding to return the boy to his father rather than collecting the ransom.
Oh, good. At least they didn't. I figured turn of the century, they probably murdered the boy, sent his husk back to the dad.
In an interview with the Los Angeles Times, writer Dale Lawner stated,
I certainly read O. Henry as a kid, and I don't remember consciously lifting it.
Lawner claims that the movie was inspired by the kidnapping of Patty Hearst, and the O. Henry story connection was a coincidence.
All right, I get it. I mean, it's not the most, original idea there ever was.
To support this, there is a British film called Too Many Crooks in 1959, which has essentially the same plot that Lawner wasn't aware existed.
I didn't know about that movie I saw 6 times while reading O. Henry.
Despite reservations about directing a movie they hadn't written, Zaz agreed to direct Ruthless People.
We'll do it!
So they cast Danny DeVito as Sam Stone.
Oh, Danny.
DeVito had come off the insanely successful action-adventure movies Romancing the Stone in 84, and its sequel, The Jewel of the Nile, in 85.
Romancing the Stone is such a great movie.
Yeah. I actually don't mind Jewel of the Nile either. It's not as good as Romancing the Stone.
It had the problems that most 80s sequels had. It was bloated.
It was definitely a cash grab.
Yeah.
There was no reason to have it, but
it just didn't have the fun,
right.
Cohesive
Romancing
comedy
the Stone
of the
is
first.
such a good movie.
Perfect movie.
Good movie. In 1986, DeVito directed and starred in the black comedy The Wedding Ring, a season 2 episode of Steven Spielberg's anthology series Amazing Stories.
I remember that.
Where his character acquires an engagement ring for his wife, played by DeVito's real-life wife, actress Rhea Perlman.
Yeah.
While the ring is slipped on his wife's finger, she is possessed by the ring's former owner, a murderous black widow.
It was good.
Yeah, it sounds fun.
It's fun because you can tell he was a huge Hitchcock fan.
Yeah.
And this was kind of the beginning of him using those kind of like camera tricks that he used on Hoffa and that he used on War of the Roses. And he's a good director.
Oh, he is. In addition to Ruthless People in 1986, DeVito was also in Wise Guys with Joe Piscopo, directed by Brian De Palma.
Ugh.
De Palma said about Wise Guys,
It's a movie I wish I hadn't done. The studio changed their minds and didn't want to make it. They just wanted us to go away. I should have just taken my money and walked instead of dealing with a studio that didn't want to make the movie.
Yeah, the movie was a huge box office bomb.
Hey, Brian, none of us wanted you to make that
Yeah,
movie.
nobody wanted to see this.
Nobody. We were so done with Joe Piscopo by the time you made that movie. Even Joe Piscopo was done with Joe Piscopo.
Yeah, well, yeah. In 1986 as well, DeVito had voiced the Grundle King in My Little Pony the movie.
Okay, the Grundle King. Do you think they knew? Do you think they knew what they were doing?
Probably. I assume. I don't know.
It's just
Maybe this is why there's all the Pony Bros now, because they just really like that Grundle King.
I'm the Grundle King today.
oh God.
The following year, DeVito would make his feature film directing debut with Throw Mama from the Train. So listen to our Throw Mama from the Train episode.
That's my mama.
I love that movie so much.
That's great.
DeVito will be seen next in the upcoming Beetlejuice.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, he has a small part in it.
Well, every part he does is a small part.
Short jokes are funny. Oh, little people.
I love him. I love him.
DeVito is fantastic. He also, I guess, technically can also be seen in the upcoming 45th season or whatever of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, which is still running.
It's like, yeah, it's been on since
He
1962.
has been in 257 episodes of that show, and he wasn't on it until like the 5th season.
The first time I saw Danny DeVito, it's the perfect way to see him for the first time. Because I was too young to see Cuckoo's Nest and
Yeah.
you know, stuff that he was in movie-wise. He was in that other movie with Jack Nicholson, Breaker Morant or something. Or no. Anyway, but the first time I saw him was the pilot of Taxi. And in Taxi, he's the dispatcher of a taxi company. Thank you.
Yeah.
But he's in this cage. The cage, as they called it.
Yeah.
And he's up higher than everybody in the cage.
Right.
And he's sitting there and he's telling everybody what to do. Louis De Palma, he's a real jerk. He was the guy, the dispatcher. And so he's yelling at everybody and something happens and he comes walking out of the cage. And the gag is he's a little teeny guy.
He's so small, yeah.
And I lost it. I thought that was the funniest effing thing I'd ever seen as a kid.
That's great.
And it was such a perfect, one of the best introductions to a character on a show that I've ever seen.
Until he was introduced as the Grundle King.
Yes, that was the second.
Bette Midler was cast as Barbara Stone, Sam's wife, who he wants to murder. Madonna was originally cast as Barbara Stone.
What?
Yep. The role later went to Bette Midler because of artistic differences between Madonna and the directors.
I love Madonna. I love her as a musician.
You know who's not an actor?
Madonna.
Madonna.
Yeah. You ever see Shanghai Surprise? Is that the name of it?
Shanghai Surprise?
The one with her and
No.
it's Shanghai I think it's Shanghai Surprise. Shanghai something. It's with her when she was married to Spicoli. Sean Penn.
Sean Penn?
Thank you. Yes.
They were married?
Yeah.
God,
Dude, you don't remember,
that at all.
So they did this movie, and my God, she was horrible. Like every movie she's been in, even like Truth or Dare, where she was playing herself, she's pretty bad. But
She's not good. She's just not a good actor.
no, and she's a phenomenal singer. She's
she's a pop star.
icon. I mean,
She's
a definite
huge
icon.
pop star.
But yes,
Does not need to be acting.
no, and she kind of learned her lesson in the '80s. She kind of stopped.
Yeah.
I don't remember her acting.
I think the last thing she did was, I think it might have been Dick Tracy.
She wasn't that bad, Dick Tracy, though.
No, she was okay.
And I think she was dating Warren Beatty.
That
when she
wouldn't
made
surprise me.
The only way she got into movies is she was dating the guy that makes them.
No, she was in that awful movie with Guy Ritchie, who she was married to at the time.
Yes!
That awful movie where they were on an island or something.
Oh, there was the remake of that awesome French movie.
Yeah.
Where the woman lands with the...
It really feels like Guy Ritchie was like, all right, fine, I'll make this.
Well, you see the pattern. She makes a movie with her husband and gets
then
divorced.
and then it gets divorced.
And the only way she can make another movie is to get married and then get divorced.
Yeah.
And, nobody's made a second movie with her, that's for sure.
Midler had put her music career on hold and turned to doing comedies during this time. She had a huge music career.
Oh, my God.
Huge.
The Rose was an absolute banger, juggernaut of a movie when it came out. And it launched. Everybody said she was the next Janis Joplin.
Yeah.
She was the next, this, the next that. Amazing voice.
Yeah. She's great. She's got huge teeth.
Oh, my God, those
Huge
choppers.
teeth.
But she is such a better actor than Madonna. This movie would not have worked.
No, this movie would not have been nearly as good.
It lives and dies on that performance because you have to end up liking this horrible person.
Because I believe Bette Midler's character arc in this. Like, I believe it. I buy it. She's an awful person at the beginning. And when she surprisingly comes back after she's released, it's like, oh, she actually doesn't really like these people. Like, and I buy it. I actually buy it.
Granted, this transformation takes place in about 5 days, which is crazy. But
it's like a week. It's like a week. She also loses like 20 pounds.
20 pounds.
Yeah.
But it's like, the thing that's really interesting is she's a hateful person because she's with a hateful person.
Yeah.
But when somebody appreciates her or compliments her or sees her, that's all she needed.
Yeah.
She needed somebody to be in her corner.
Yeah.
And that's...
It's so weird. I was literally just watching a clip from, in like 1962, a child psychologist trying to deal with this aggressive kid. And at one point, the kid's just like freaking out. And he was like, I'm trying to help because I love you and I want you to be better. And the kid stops and looks at me. He's like, you love me? And it was just like, oh my God.
Yeah.
All you have to do is show a little affection.
Oh, yeah. I can tell. As somebody who was
From
always
experience.
looking for. But yeah, I mean, look. Is there a lot of pantomime going on with her? A little too much,
weird
maybe.
pantomime obsession.
But I think that was part of the character.
But it was funny. Yeah.
It was a choice.
I feel like she was. That's how she would talk to like the help.
Yeah.
Because they probably didn't speak English very well.
Well, she also she was the bigger character. Like she was the big comedic.
She had a huge personality.
Yes, big hair, big clothes, big body, big mouth. Big teeth.
Big everything.
Big everything. And I think to counter the straight people who were Slater and Reinhold, she was the big, out of everybody, even DeVito. I mean, DeVito was DeVito, but he was...
but he was contained.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So she had like the task of being kind of the cartoon of the bunch.
Right. Along with Ruthless People in 1986, she was also in Down and Out in Beverly Hills, written and directed by Paul Mazursky.
That was a great movie.
I don't think I've ever seen it. She would continue her comedy career in 1987 with Outrageous Fortune, co-starring Shelley Long, which I want to say I think I've seen.
It's good. It was funny. Again, it was another, women taking back the power kind of sitch, which was very popular at that time.
In 1988, she was in Big Business, co-starring Lily Tomlin, based on The Comedy of Errors by William Shakespeare.
Again, women taking over the business. Yeah.
Tomlin and Midler would play identical twins, so there were 4 of them on screen. I've never seen Big Business, so I don't remember. I think I've seen pieces of it.
I completely forgot it existed.
Yeah.
I completely forgot it existed.
Midler can most recently be seen in The Fabulous Four, co-starring Susan Sarandon, Megan Mullally, Cheryl Lee Ralph, Bruce Greenwood, Timothy V. Murphy, and Michael Bolton.
Okay, it's a cool cast.
Yeah, I mean, it's not... I think it just came out not too long ago, so in 2024. So
I love Susan Sarandon and Megan Mullally.
Yeah. Judge Reinhold.
Cheryl Lee Ralph, too. Sorry, from...
Cheryl Lee Ralph? What is she from?
Abbott Elementary.
Oh, that's right. She's really funny.
She's hilarious. And an amazing singer.
Judge Reinhold was cast as Ken Kessler.
Judge!
Reinhold had bit parts in a number of movies, including Stripes, Fast Times at Ridgemont High, and Gremlins, but none of them really buoyed his career. He kept looking for that one thing that was going to make his career big.
I don't know what it is that maybe he's a little goofy, his ears stick out a little bit. It was
he's unconventionally handsome.
Right, but the problem is, 70s, weird-looking guys ruled the roost.
Yeah.
80s, we're getting more superficial.
Right.
Everybody's got to be super ripped and handsome.
Everybody's got to be Tom Cruise.
Tom Cruise or Arnold or Sly or, And, again... He was a guy that could do comedy and drama.
Yeah.
But people were so used to him just being like the hapless.
Right.
He plays hapless perfectly.
Right.
I just think he, like you said, I don't think he found that role that.
Yeah, it just wasn't
propelled
the
him.
thing that was getting him until Beverly Hills Cop in 1984. And then his career took off.
He was so good in that.
So good.
So good.
All of them. He was so good in the new one. He was so good.
My favorite scene of his in Beverly Hills Cop is when they're like, "Don't go in," and he's standing out, and everything is, the ass is going down, and he's just kind of, "Oh, should I go? No, I'm not going to go. Oh, no, I'm not going to." And it's just the frustration on his face,
right,
is so perfect. I think the guy is so underrated.
I agreed. I totally agree.
Such an amazing comic actor, such an amazing character actor. And like you said, I don't think that there's any other actor that plays Ernest better than him.
Unfortunately, he was then in a series of movies that didn't do terribly well, like Roadhouse 66, starring Willem Dafoe.
What?
Yep. That's exactly. No one's heard of it. Head Office with Reinhold's first time getting top billing, but also never heard of it.
I remember Head Office, but not enough to tell you what it was about.
And Offbeat, co-starring Meg Tilly, Clavant Derricks, and Harvey Keitel.
Yeah, that was a weird one. He was playing like a beat cop.
Yeah.
And something weird happened.
I've never seen any of these movies. I have no idea. Now that I know he's in them, I kind of want to see them.
Well, don't forget the double deuce switcheroo he did with Fred Savage.
Yeah, that was a little later. I think that was in the early 90s.
Yeah.
There was a weird series of those movies.
Yep.
Like Vice Versa?
Vice Versa, yeah.
Is that it? Yeah.
And then like Father Like Son
Yeah.
with Kirk Cameron.
18 Again.
18 Again.
With George Burns.
Oh.
And the kid that I don't think he did anything else afterwards.
No. And then there was Dream a Little Dream with the Coreys.
Oh, yeah.
And Don
that's
Amici.
right.
And
oh, my God.
That was
there
weird.
There were so many of those movies.
Oh,
it
my
was
God.
weird.
It was all about the double deuce switcheroo back then. And they're coming back. They're doing
Yeah, they're doing it again.
a sequel.
Freakier Friday.
Yep, with Lindsay Lohan.
And Jamie Lee Curtis.
Reprising the roles for the classic film. That was a remake of a classic film.
Yes. Reinhold can most recently be seen in Beverly Hills Cop Axel F. Highly recommend it.
Highly recommend it.
So good.
So much fun to see them back together again. So sad how old he looks. But that's what happens to us.
That's what happens. Age, nobody can stop time.
But Axel F is the perfect mix of new and nostalgia baiting, you know?
Oh, yeah. But it works. It's not... It never felt like I was being spoon-fed the stuff.
No.
Helen Slater was cast as Sandy Kessler. Slater made her feature film debut as Supergirl in 1984 at the age of 20.
Poor Helen Slater. I mean, you're right. She did a great job with that.
I thought that movie was great. Unfortunately, the movie was a box office disappointment.
She took so much shit for that movie.
It's so sad because she was so good in it.
Yeah, and it took a very promising career and derailed it.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
And a bunch of her movies she was in did not do terribly well. In 1985, Slater was in The Legend of Billie Jean, which didn't do well at the box office either.
Huge cult hit. Huge cult hit.
Yeah, it was a very feminist power movie, and like it was good. I mean, I really enjoyed the movie.
I'd like to see it again. I'm sure I enjoyed it. But all I remember is two blonde sweaties.
Okay. After Ruthless People, Slater would appear in The Secret of My Success in 1987, starring Michael J. Fox.
Yeah, not very good.
No, it's not very good. City Slickers in 1991.
That was a hit.
She was also in a guest spot on Seinfeld and Dream On. And she had the voice role as Talia al Ghul in Batman the Animated Series.
Dream On with Brian Benben.
Brian Benben.
Anytime I could say Brian Benben's name.
As a throwback to her role in Supergirl, she would portray Lara L. in Smallville in 3 episodes. She also played Eliza Danvers, Supergirl's adoptive mother, in the 2015 Supergirl TV series for 13 episodes.
Nice.
And did the voice of Martha Kent in the 2016 TV film DC Superhero Girls Superhero High.
Good Lord. I mean, I guess they're paying her back for... For...
She's played almost every woman in the DC universe at one point or another.
Every woman that's connected to Supergirl or Superman.
Slater can most recently be seen in Chantilly Bridge, a movie about a group of unbreakable friends that faces trials and tribulations, starring Lindsay Krause, Jill Eikenberry, Patricia Richardson, Ali Sheedy, Talia Shire, Najee Sky Adzama, and Jo Beth Williams.
Damn, that's a good cast.
Yeah. It looks interesting. I mean, I'm curious about it. I believe it just came out this summer. So,
man, that's just a who's who of great 80s actors.
Yeah, exactly. Anita Morris was cast as Carol Dodsworth.
I need a Morris. Does anybody have a Morris? I need a Morris.
She's so good in this movie.
She was the consummate slutty lady, older lady of the 80s and 90s.
Which is funny because she was mostly in Broadway musicals. Like, her onstage persona was so different.
Well, she was just so good at playing that.
She was very sultry. Yeah.
So sultry. Gorgeous.
Oh, yeah.
I'm curious because she always looked like she was late 30s, 40s because of the hair.
Yeah.
They gave her old lady hair. And I'd be curious to see. I've always wanted to see her with like long straight hair and see like what she would look like.
Morris began her career performing in Broadway musicals, including Jesus Christ Superstar,
Jesus Christ Superstar, who in the hell do you think you are?
Seesaw, and Nine, for which she received a Tony Award nomination.
Oh my God, Nine! You remember Nine?
Yeah, we did. They just did it at AMDA not too long ago.
I remember when that came out. They used to advertise Broadway shows on TV, and
Oh yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
That Nine was always on.
During the 1980s and early 1990s, she played guest roles in sitcoms and dramas, including
Miami Vice, Who's the Boss, Murder, She Wrote, Cheers, Melrose Place, Matlock, Tales from the Crypt, Murphy Brown, and A Different World.
In 1984, Morris was featured in the Rolling Stones music video She Was Hot.
Yeah, she was.
Ruthless People was her breakout role in feature films. After, she appeared in 18 again in 1988 with George Burns.
Yeah, George Burns. I'm 18 again. Yeah, smoke cigars.
Bloodhounds of Broadway in 89 with Madonna and Matt Dillon.
Yeah, that was horrible. Horrible.
It sounds bad. A Sinful Life in 1989. Martians Go Home in 1989 with Randy Quaid.
It's kind of a guilty pleasure.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. Off and Running in 1991 with Cyndi Lauper.
Cyndi Lauper? Who do you think you are, Cyndi Lauper?
Little Miss Millions in 1993 with Jennifer Love Hewitt, which I don't think I've ever seen. And Me and the Kid in 1993.
I remember Me and the Kid.
That one I definitely have not seen. And Radioland Murders in 1994, which was her final film role.
Oh.
Radioland Murders was the George Lucas movie.
Right.
Where he was shooting. Wasn't it the first one he shot everything on green screen?
Yeah, that was the movie that he basically made that's the movie that he basically made as a test for episode 1.
Right.
Where he wanted to try all digital backgrounds.
That's right.
We talked about in an earlier episode about how he liked to use movies.
He would use
tests.
movies to test. Yeah,
that's what Howard the Duck was going to be.
Right, and it failed.
Well, because he didn't.
Yeah, because it didn't work. He got bored with it.
Well, he didn't use his animation studio.
She would develop ovarian cancer in 1980 and was given only 5 years to live, but went on to live for another 14 years before she died on March 2nd, 1994, 12 days before her 51st birthday.
So in 1980, so that was before all of this happened.
Yeah. She had been living. She literally, every time you see her on screen, she has ovarian cancer.
Good God.
Yeah.
Wow, that even makes her more impressive.
Yeah. Yeah. Bill Pullman. Hey, finally, Bill Pullman was cast as Earl Mott.
The star of our month comes in 45 minutes into the show.
After graduating from Hornell High School in 1971, he attended the State University of New York at Delhi and the State University of New York at
Oneonta.
I'm going to say Oneonta.
Sure.
In the 1970s, and he received a Bachelor of Arts degree in theater studies from the latter in 1975.
So he went to Hormel High, which is
Hornell.
Chile.
Not Hormel, Hornell.
And then he went to a university learning about delis. So was he like a food guy?
This joke is failing. It's falling apart. How does Oneonta fit in, Jim?
Well, it's pronounced one-onta.
One-onta. I just want one-onta. He eventually received his Master of Fine Arts degree from the University of Massachusetts Amherst in 1980.
All right.
He taught theater at SUNY Delhi and was an adjunct professor at Montana State University School of Film and Photography in Bozeman, Montana, where his students persuaded him to pursue film roles.
Yeah, because they hated him. Just go do something, anything with this, Mr.
So
Pullman.
sick of that hair. Those blonde tips are terrible.
Hey, guys, we're going to learn about some films today.
Pullman made an appearance on an episode of Cagney and Lacey before being cast in Ruthless People, his feature film debut.
That's not bad.
Yeah, I mean, hey, Earl Mott named his fish Crockett and Tubbs after the lead characters from Miami Vice and dresses much in the style of the series.
Oh no, Crockett and Tubbs are floating.
God, I can't believe. I love that he picked them out with the net and then proceeded to pick them up, and I thought he was going to eat them, and then he just throws them in the garbage.
Yep.
I was like,
in the garbage disposal.
Yeah. We'll do a lot more on Bill Pullman in our next episode because we've got 2 more episodes to cover.
Yeah, we don't
want to run out of Bill Pullman trivia.
Don't want to shoot our Bill Pullman wad too soon.
William G. Schilling was cast as Police Chief Harry Benton.
Can we just go back for one second?
Sure.
Bill Pullman as Earl Mott,
Yeah.
which is such a great name, by the way.
Yeah.
Earl Mott.
Fits his character very well.
One of the best dumb guy performances ever.
Yeah.
Because it is so sincere. He is so sincere.
The sequence where he is... All the cops are there, but he doesn't know, and he's trying to steal the money from Judge Reinhold. He's like, suddenly there's a gunshot. And he's like, "Did you shoot at me?
Shoot at me?"
And he's like, "Well, but that was one of the funniest scenes in the entire movie."
Oh, it was hilarious. That and also,
how did you do that?
When he's watching the police chief have sex with the prostitute, and he thinks it's a murder.
He's murder, and he's like, he just can't.
It's so great. He's just such a sweet, simple dummy. Yes. You know, he just doesn't have any sense.
The fact that the police are up on the building and they're literally like, "This is the dumbest man alive." Yeah. Just like they literally said it in the movie.
And he is. So and it's not. He doesn't play a dumb guy. It's not like somebody who has a affliction.
Yeah. He's not Forrest Gump.
He is just a dumb, earnest idiot. I mean, he's just naive, I think would be the best word. But he's probably got a 60 IQ. He's trying to work it out, trying to be a good guy. He doesn't know any better.
I just love that he dresses like Miami Vice, and then they have to go stay at his trailer, and it's just the garbage pit.
She was so upset. But what an amazing performance.
He's so good. He's so good.
One of the best debut performances I can remember.
Agreed. William G. Schilling was cast as the police chief Henry Benton. Schilling, that was also one of the phone calls, one of the best scenes in the movie.
Oh, yeah.
Schilling is best known for playing Dr. Harold Samuels in all 114 episodes of the sitcom Head of the Class.
Yes, Dr. Schilling. He had a very interesting, he had a little bit of lisp in the way he talked.
Schilling would make appearances in Testament in 1983, the story of a small town after a nuclear war, which we've mentioned many, many times.
Oh, yeah.
In the Line of Fire in 1983, starring Clint Eastwood, directed by Wolfgang Peterson.
One of Eastwood's best flicks, man.
Oh, so good.
Oh,
so
my
good.
God. And
taut thriller.
Super taut, and one of the best bad guy roles.
With
John Malkovich.
John Malkovich, so good. Man, making that little handmade wooden gun. Like it was just, that movie was so brilliant. God, it was so brilliant.
I always remember the shot of him with his gut sticking out, eating that giant bowl of pasta because he's trying to gain weight. It's like, oh my God.
He was also in Space Jam in 1996. And Space Jam. And in Glory Road in 2006, his last film role. He passed away in 2019 at the age of 79 from unknown causes.
So, how old?
He's 79.
Too young.
But he retired in his early 60s. Like, he just kind of stopped working.
The moment you see him,
Yeah.
you'll know who he is.
Yeah.
He was on sitcoms. He was on everything.
He was a great character actor.
An amazing character actor. Yeah. And this was one of my favorite roles he ever did because it was one of the more prominent ones he had.
Right.
And it was also, again, I love wires crossed comedy.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, when
the miscommunication.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's,
this one pushed a little too far.
Pushed the credulity a little
too far. I get the stupid guy thinking that the people having sex she was being murdered.
Yes.
I get that, even though he was literally watching. But then for her to not watch the tape at all, just hear 1 second of it and go, okay.
Carol didn't want to watch a murder happen.
I know, but still. But it paid off in the fact that they sent the tape to the guy who was in the tape.
Yes.
And it worked so well.
There is a lot of convenient
plot
points in this that it makes me think that the writer, had A, B, C, D, E, and F and just needed to figure out how to maneuver those.
Right.
But still, like you said, it might be a little cheap at the beginning, but it pays off
but it definitely
really
pays
well.
Off. Yeah, yeah. Art Evans was cast as Lieutenant Bender. One of Evans' early roles was the first victim in this John Carpenter film, Christine, based on the novel by Stephen King. Do you remember this? He was the Detroit auto worker found dead on the assembly line after daring to flick cigar ash on Christine's upholstery.
Well, you gotta respect Christine.
In 1984, Evans co-starred in the all-star African-American drama A Soldier's Story as the memorable brown-nosing character Wilkie.
Oh, yeah.
He is probably best known for his role as Leslie Barnes in the action film Die Hard 2, in which he played an air traffic controller tower employee at Dulles International Airport that helps LAPD detective John McClane stop terrorists from crashing planes.
He is such a good character actor.
He's great.
Just solid, man.
He's also made many appearances in a variety of television shows, such as
MASH, Hill Street Blues, Monk, The X-Files, A Different World, Last Man Standing, and Family Matters, on which he played a man claiming to be Santa Claus.
Yeah,
man.
And he's been in everything. He's one of those people that you immediately recognize him.
And he's just got that easygoing way about him.
Yeah.
That whether it's comedy, drama, he fits right in. He's just one of those master character actors.
He fits very well in with Zaz and the way they do movies, because he's very straightforward and serious, but like it's funny.
Exactly. Well, I mean, and also, he's dealing with a bunch of idiots, and he's very good at dealing with idiots.
He most recently can be heard voicing a character in The Proud Family, Louder and Prouder, which has like his third season, I think, is coming out this year.
Okay, good.
Yeah,
he's still alive.
Around. He's doing some voice work. He's still around. And one of the idiots he had to work with all the time was Clarence Felder, Lieutenant Walters, his partner.
Nice.
Who was the worst performance I've ever seen of anyone ever on anything.
He's usually pretty good, but he was very strange.
It was a choice, and I don't know if the directors told him to do it, but man, he was like just a robot reading off lines.
Look at that man over there.
It was so weird. There was a point near the end where he finally kind of warmed up a bit.
Yeah.
I mean, literally near the very end.
Yeah.
But, like, it was just some of his line delivery. I wanted to rewind it and be like, did he really just say it that way?
Yeah.
God, it was so weird.
He's a really good character. He usually plays cops or, professionals or schlubs.
Yeah, like guys with authority in some way.
But, yeah, he made a lot of interesting choices in this movie.
His first feature film performance was in Man on a Swing in 1974. His other films include After Hours in 85, The Hidden in 87, The Last Boy Scout in 91, and The Ride in 1997.
Oh, After Hours is great.
It's such a good movie. He stars in the award-winning feature film All for Liberty, released in 2009, portraying his ancestor, Captain Henry Felder, an American Revolutionary War hero of the backcountry of South Carolina.
I wonder if he did him like this.
I hope not.
I am in the Civil War.
Because he's from South Carolina? Is that how they talk in South Carolina?
Yeah, that's how they talk in South Carolina.
It was based on his play Captain Felder's Cannon, not a reference to his wiener.
Okay. Good.
Felder is perhaps best known for playing Inspector Bobo Pritzker on Hooperman, starring John Ritter. He would appear in 42 episodes.
Hooperman. I forgot Hooperman even existed.
I did too, and I love the fact that there's a character named Bobo Pritzker.
Wasn't Hooperman like a landlord or something?
No. He was he was a cop. He was an investigator.
Hooperman. Okay.
Yeah.
God,
I believe he was a cop, if I remember correctly.
It's so. Yeah, I think you're right.
Literally, I was doing the script, and I was like, "Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
This was a movie, or this was a show."
The beauty of this show is it makes you rediscover things you completely forgot existed.
The fact that Felder appeared in 42 episodes makes me realize that there were way more episodes of that show than I thought.
Well, he was, one of the regs.
I know, but still,
He was a cop again, I think.
Let's see if Hooperman's available anywhere.
Yeah, Hooperman.
He most recently can be heard narrating Light for Your Journey, an inspirational scripture documentary recorded during the COVID lockdown, directed by his wife, Chris Weatherhead. He's become extremely religious.
All right.
Yeah.
Look, that happens to people when they get older.
Yeah.
You're facing death, and you want to, find a...
It's all of it seems very inspirational, like all the stuff they're doing. He directed a couple of their documentaries with his wife, but it's he's trying to spread positivity. So
I'm down with that, baby.
Yeah.
I'm as long as your message is that of inclusion, positivity, and love, where it's coming from doesn't matter.
Yeah, exactly. J.E. Freeman was cast as the bedroom killer.
Oh, J.E. Freeman.
Which, the funny thing is, when they showed the bedroom killer the first time, I was like, wow, that looks just like Judge Reinhold. Because I thought they were going to try to use that in the movie, and then they didn't. Freeman's first movie appearance was in the action film An Eye for an Eye in 1981, in which he played a tow truck driver who exchanges words with Chuck Norris.
Chuck Norris.
Yeah, you can't get away from Chuck Norris.
Yeah, watch Top Dog. And I'll kick everybody in the nuts.
He was often cast in menacing roles such as the evil mobster Marcellus Santos in David Lynch's Wild at Heart in 1990.
Great in that.
Yeah, it's a fantastic movie.
Wild at Heart is crazy, man.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. Oh, beautiful Nick Cage. Unhinged performance.
Yeah. He was also the terrifying henchman Eddie the Dane in the Coen Miller's Crossing, also in 1990.
I love that movie so much. I
Miller's
love that
Crossing is
movie.
so good. I haven't seen it in a long time.
Me too. But he is so good in that.
Yeah, yeah, he was great in that. I remember specifically him being scary as hell in that.
Oh yeah. If you haven't seen Miller's Crossing, it's one of the Coen.
So
it's in the top 5 of all Coen Brothers movies.
He would also play the cruel scientist Dr. Mason Wren in Jean-Pierre Jeunet's Alien Resurrection in 1997.
So great in that too.
So good. He also appeared in Patriot Games in 1992 as the bearded CIA agent Marty Cantor.
Oh yeah.
He was in Copycat in 1995 as the police lieutenant Thomas Quinn.
It's a fun little movie.
Copycat's fun.
It's okay.
It's got Harry Connick Jr. in it.
Yeah, he's a bad guy.
And Sigourney Weaver.
He's a good guy.
Yeah. And he was also in Go in 1998 as strip club owner Vic Sr.
He was great. That movie was great.
That movie's fantastic.
Oh my God.
That's a very underrated movie.
100%. And I think it's Timothy Oliphant's first big movie.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Oh.
If I remember correctly, that's the first thing I remember him in, being like, that dude's good.
He would retire from acting in 2007. He's stopped acting. At age 22, he revealed he was gay to the United States Marine Corps, leading to his discharge. He had been HIV positive since around 1984, contracting the disease after an incident in Thailand. He died in the evening of August 9th, 2014 of AIDS. He was 68.
I had no idea about that.
Again, also, now, every time you see him after 1984, he is HIV positive.
Good Lord, 2 people
Every
are
movie
dying
he's
in this movie.
Yeah, yeah.
It's not great for a comedy.
Not great. Gary Riley was the heavy metal kid, the guy buying some speakers who Judge Reinhold tries so hard to con, tries so hard to be the salesman.
Oh, yeah.
And just can't do it.
Listen, man, you want to hear some good speakers?
And if you don't like it, it doesn't matter. If you can't pay for it, finance it.
Effing finance it, man.
Riley played Charlie Hogan, one of his best-known roles in the 1986 film Stand By Me.
Right.
Yeah, I always forget he's in that. I forget it's him.
Isn't he the brother of? He's the older brother, right? Of the Chubbs.
Yeah, I think he is. Chubbs. So mean. He also received notice for his portrayal of Dave Frazier in the 1987 comedy Summer School.
Oh, I love that movie.
Him and Dave and Chainsaw.
Yeah.
Loving George Romero and their crazy gore.
Yeah, and in love with the exchange student from Italy.
Yeah. Which the funny thing is, I assume at some point we'll probably cover Summer School.
Of course.
But apparently Gary Riley and the guy who played Chainsaw, whose name I do not remember, hated each other. They did not get along when they were not in scenes together.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just disappointing because they were so good together in the movie.
Yeah, they were. They had a great chemistry. A lot of times that happens. You have good chemistry on screen, but you don't like it. Like, look at Bruce Willis and Sybil Shepherd.
Yeah, perfect example. He made notable appearances as a thief who steals money from Steve Martin's character's wallet in Planes, Trains, and Automobiles.
Oh, yeah.
Also, always forget that's him. His last role was as a thug in Fear with Mark Wahlberg.
Oh, God.
Yeah, that was such a bad movie.
Talk about a one-note performance.
As the 1980s came to a close, he spent much of his time following the Grateful Dead and later Phil Lesh and Friends.
Probably saw him at a concert.
Probably. Riley has said he lived off residual checks for almost 20 years after leaving Hollywood.
Good for him.
Did not work for 20 years.
That's awesome.
He's retired. He's not acting anymore. He's still around.
Yeah, he looks weird.
And actually, Phil Hartman can be heard twice as a TV commentator while she's watching TV.
Oh, wow.
I didn't realize while I was watching it.
That's great.
And before we move on, we need to talk about a few things that I had to add to the script. I realized after we were watching. The set design, which we talked about before, the Italian radical design from the Memphis Group.
Yes, the Memphis Group.
Which is actually Italian. They were named after the Bob Dylan song Stuck Inside of Mobile with the Memphis Blues Again, which were playing repeatedly in the group's first meeting. Apparently just played nonstop, and so they decided to call themselves the Memphis Group.
They all went insane and created the ugliest furniture ever.
Oh my God, it's so bad.
I knew that was Italian because every weird effing design choice, whether it's clothing or furniture or whatever, comes from
weird Italians.
Yes.
They were also known as the Memphis Milano. They were only active from 1980 to 1987.
Yeah, because
it was bad.
Not only was it garish.
Oh my God, so garish.
But it looked insanely uncomfortable and impractical.
The only thing that I liked about that look was their front door.
Yeah.
which it looked like it was like broken glass. It was
Or
really
ice.
cool. Or ice.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like bubbles. Had bubbles. Yeah,
That was very cool. But the zigzag patterns next to it ruined it.
The soundtrack featured Mick Jagger, who did the song "Ruthless People," which he wrote for the movie.
Ruthless People.
Also Billy Joel, with "Modern Woman," and then included Kool and the Gang, Luther Vandross, and a Bruce Springsteen song.
Yeah, just because it was the 80s. Bruce
the
Springsteen had to be in everything.
And Jan de Bont actually shot the movie.
Yeah.
He was the cinematographer.
Yeah, before I went crazy as director.
Yeah, he didn't direct until Speed in '94. Some of the movies he did cinematography for was Roar in 1981. Do you remember that movie about the lions?
Yeah.
Yeah, apparently, I just found this out. He was attacked by a lion, nearly got scalped by a lion. And needed 220 stitches to keep his head on.
I remember that.
So crazy.
So I was like, F this, I'm going to direct.
But he also did the cameras for Cujo in '83 with Louis Teague, which was, we commented in our Cujo episode how great it was shot.
Jan de Bont was an insanely good cinematographer. Not as much director.
No.
But a
great... Speed is good, but like...
Yes.
That's one of those, I think it was more directed by committee because it was a huge action movie.
Great script.
Yeah.
And it was very well done. But yeah, look, he was a master at cinematography.
Some of the other movies that he shot were The Jewel of the Nile, which was also directed by Louis Teague. I didn't know that. Who did Cujo in '85. Die Hard in '88, which I always forget who did Die Hard. Black Rain in '89, which the only thing I remember of that movie is the cinematography.
Yes, I love Black Rain.
It was shot so well.
That's with Michael
Douglas. He also shot Basic Instinct in 1992. He actually, did you know this, but he retired in 2012. He hasn't done a movie since then.
Well, nobody was asking.
He still could have been shooting movies.
No.
He executive produced a bunch of stuff,
Yeah.
and then he retired, and he's now 80, and he's...
Guy had a great career.
Yeah. So while directing, Jerry Zucker would be on set talking to the actors while the other two would watch from monitors and give comments.
Sounds impractical.
Yeah. The trio found the making of the film difficult due to them having to direct a script none of them had written, as well as the film style being different from their previous work.
But it's also very important, if you are co-directing something, there has to be the person that talks to the actors. Every time I've worked with somebody, you can't, because every time the both of us are talking, the actor's going to get confused.
Yes.
And somebody has to be the funnel that everything
point
goes
person
to.
to go. Yeah, I agree. It also contributed to their eventual split in the 90s, with Jerry Zucker stating,
"It became evident that if we were going to do scripts written by other people, we'd have to direct separately."
Yeah. I mean, it's just one of those practical things. If they weren't going to keep writing movies together and directing movies together, then there was no point.
Right. Because it was their project. I mean... They come with Airplane, and everything is them putting it together, and then, so it makes sense because they're shepherding and creating this together.
Yeah,
I know you've done this. I've done this too, mostly on stage. But if you're directing somebody else's work with another person, it's so much different than if you're directing something that you came up with together, because you're going to have different opinions, and you're going to probably see things a little differently and interpret it a little differently. And again,
this is where, again, the pre-production is key.
Mm-hmm.
You have to have all that hashed out before you step on set,
or it's just going to be a mess.
In fact, they would never direct another movie together and only write one more movie as a team, The Naked Gun from the Files of Police Squad in 1988, in which David Zucker received solo directing credit.
Okay.
This is also the first time that Pat Proft, a friend of the trio, would receive writing credit for a Zaz project. He would go on to write with a bunch of them for the next 20 years. 30 years. After all this, David Zucker would co-write and direct The Naked Gun 2.5, The Smell of Fear in 1991.
That's such a great title.
He would co-write The Naked Gun 33 1/3, The Final Insult in 1994.
Even a better title.
He would co-write High School High in 1986, starring John Lovitz.
Oh, God. Talk about something aging horribly.
Yes. He would co-write and direct Basketball in 1998 with Trey Parker and Matt Stone. That is, to me, another spoof sketch comedy movie. I have a soft spot for that movie.
Me too.
It is not good.
No.
But it is funny.
Yes. It is ridiculous.
Funny. Yeah. And it felt like Zucker kind of going back to his roots and finding that with Trey Parker and Matt Stone.
Right. With a super gross edge to it.
I can't. It's just the thing that sold me on that movie, which is so stupid. But when they were in the locker room
With
after
the
the
giant
first
wieners.
movie, and no, it was just the turning and then just seeing it flash through the screen. Like it was just so stupid, but it was so funny.
Oh, yeah.
It was so funny.
It was ridiculous.
David Zucker would direct My Boss's Daughter in 2003, starring Ashton Kutcher, Tara Reid, and Terrence Stamp. Not a good movie. He would direct Scary Movie 3 in 2003 and Scary Movie 4 in 2006.
Yeah.
Yeah. He would co-write and direct An American Carol, a spoof of the Michael Moore movies. Like, Michael Moore doing all his documentaries. This was a spoof of that.
Yeah, that was awful. God effing awful.
It was also the first time that Zucker had kind of come out that he was become much more conservative.
Yeah, and you know what's not funny?
Yeah.
Conservative humor.
Yeah. And he would co-write Scary Movie 5 in 2013. His brother, Jerry Zucker, would do much more producing. He would direct Ghost in 1990.
Crazy.
Which I had no idea.
Such a good movie.
Such a good movie.
Yeah.
He did such a good job with that.
I love when the ghost starts ping-ponging around like a...
Yeah.
Just kidding.
Direct First Night in 1995, starring Sean Connery and Richard Gere.
I'm the first night.
It's a
Not a good movie.
bit of misstep for Richard Gere in that movie.
Richard Gere made a lot of missteps.
Yeah. He would also direct Rat Race in 2001, starring a huge ensemble cast in the vein of It's a Mad, 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 Mad World.
Yeah, Mr. Bean was in that.
Yeah, there's a bunch of people in that.
Seth Green was in that.
A bunch of people in that.
Not a good movie.
No. Jim Abram would direct Big Business in 1988, starring Lily Tomlin and Bette Midler.
I like that movie.
He would direct Welcome Home, Roxy Carmichael in 1990, starring Winona Ryder and Jeff Daniels.
Yeah.
I've never seen it.
I saw it. Could not tell you anything about it.
Yeah. He would co-write and direct Hot Shots in 1991 and Hot Shots Part 2 in 1993.
Very good movies.
He would direct First Do No Harm in 1997, a TV movie starring Meryl Streep.
Okay.
Yep.
Don't remember that one.
He would co-write and direct Mafia in 1998, starring Jay Moore, Lloyd Bridges in one of his final films, Olympia Dukakis, and Christina Applegate.
Swing and a miss.
It was not good.
Not good. Trying to do the airplane jobby on the Mafia.
Yeah, it was bad.
Look, no offense, Jay Moore, but nobody wants to see you in anything.
Yeah, no.
You were just...
He was not somebody that was a box office draw.
You're too smug for your britches, and you're not as funny as you think you are.
He would also co-write Scary Movie 4 in 2006.
God, they were all over them scary movies.
They were all over. They would bounce back and forth together, like working together, but they would never direct together again.
Yeah.
Ruthless People made $71.6 million from a $9 million budget, making it extremely profitable.
Yeah, people are always like, it was a bomb. But it wasn't a bomb at all.
It wasn't.
It was. I remember when it came out. People loved it.
In fact, it was Disney's highest-grossing film of the year, excluding reissues. So, I mean, it was their number one movie. Critics seemed to enjoy the film. Roger Ebert said that the film
is made out of great performances, a script of diabolical ingenuity, and a whole lot of silliness.
Leonard Maltin agreed that this
clever farce has lots of laughs, bright performances, but it turns sour. These really are unpleasant people.
You know, it's funny. Every time you do the Roger Ebert voice, in my head, I picture Leonard Maltin. Every time.
That's hilarious.
So that's that. Ruthless People was funny. It is funny.
Yeah.
It took me a little while to get into it.
Sure.
And especially, man, it is so, that first scene with Danny DeVito, literally the first second, just starts talking about how he wants to murder his wife.
Yep.
It's a little off-putting.
Yep.
It's a little hard to get into.
But it sets the tone.
But it does. It does. And it makes you realize when you finally do meet her, it's like, oh, yeah.
It sets you up for what you're going to get into. And I don't agree. I think there are only like two really unpleasant people in the...
Yeah.
And one of them becomes more pleasant.
A pleasant person.
Because even, look, Anita Morris' character, Carol, is like, she's kind of a scummy, but she also she's not a monster.
No, she
wants to do the right thing.
Yeah,
I mean, she sends the thing. Okay, they didn't get the money she wanted, so she sent it to the cops. I mean,
right.
But she does send it to the cops. Bill Pullman's just dumb.
Yeah,
there's nothing.
No, he's not. He can't be good or evil. He's just dumb.
He's too stupid. and Helen Slater and Judge Reinhold are just lovely people.
Yeah, they're so good together.
Lovely people.
They play so well.
Oh my
together.
God! And her performance It's just like this sad little mouse, and when she finally is happy and
I know
comes out of her shell,
she comes upstairs and she's got her hair all up, and Judge Reinhold's like, "Well, we're probably gonna have to let her go," and she's like, "I already did." It's like, and that moment is so great. Like
my God.
This movie. The script is okay. I don't know why Jerry Zucker thought it was the greatest script he ever read.
Scripts change though.
That's true. But it was good. It was fun, and I did enjoy that it had a really clever ending.
Yeah.
Like these movies to me kind of live and die on whether or not the
crazy ending.
The like slipping by, like, you know, making it work. Like that kind of lives and dies by that.
This was the time there were so many movies, caper or whatever movies, where whether it's this, Quick Change, you know, a myriad movies, where everything is so effed up, and then somehow all of this convoluted stuff comes together at the end, and then there's always a character who has a formidable change, whether it's Dan Aykroyd or Bette Midler, or, you know, there's always this. They just had these, or Bill Murray, but they have these movies that are just these really great caper films that are ridiculous. Let's be honest.
Totally absurd.
And then there's this whole convoluted thing to get to the happy ending, but we always got the happy ending.
Yeah, I did. I really appreciated the fact that, because there was a point when I was like, okay, Judge Reinhold and Helen Slater, like, she's gone. They can get away with it. It's fine. Like, they're not going to be charged with any crimes.
Yeah.
And then he shows up to get the money, and I was like, oh boy.
Yeah.
Like, that's it, man. You've officially crossed the line.
Right. Which is great, because then, you know, it's all a big plan.
All part of the ruse.
I
and
love,
all part of the,
The greatest thing is when, and, you know, this was done very well by the Ocean's movies.
Yes. Yes.
But there's that whole thing where you think that, oh, these idiots, they're going to lose. And then it comes back, and it's like, well, this is what we did.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's like,
we want you to think we're stupid.
Exactly.
But we're not.
But they, you know, it always comes together in a neat package.
Yeah.
But it's how they wrap the package that makes a good movie.
Right. And this did this very well.
And there's a lot of great twists and turns. You know, they had to do this, but it was very clever, because Danny DeVito's character, Sam Stone, doesn't love his wife, of course, wants to kill his wife. So he has this beautiful stroke of luck where his wife gets kidnapped, and then he's like, I don't care, kill her, you know.
Yeah.
And then it was so great that they blackmailed the chief of police to
essentially
arrest him. And it was a great way.
I got to prove that she was kidnapped.
But it was also a great way to get them onto him, and make him forced to now get her back. It did a really good job of keeping it going.
I agree. It's fun. It's a really fun movie. I had a good time with it.
Yeah, it's a goofy, dumb caper movie.
Yeah.
And it is very indicative of the 80s. It's very indicative of these silly, just celebrations of goofiness that end with the good guys winning and the bad guys losing, and the bad guy gets their comeuppance and the good guys get their reward. And it was just a very comforting genre.
It is.
That I still to this day love.
Nice to have a happy ending.
Yes, not everything has to be dark. You know, it's like comedies. It's very. You can really tell what's going on in a decade by their comedies.
Oh yeah,
right.
Yeah.
So the '80s comedies were very. They were goofy.
Yeah.
They had happy endings. The good guys won. It was very, I wouldn't say like moral, but kind of moral. You know, there was a moral lesson, some morality.
Yeah.
And then we got into like this mean-spirited comedy.
Yeah.
I think in the '90s was kind of like, you know,
kind of, well, like the American Pie and like
stuff
like
just kind of gross out stuff that was. It was funny, but you know,
it's like, what's the point of this exactly?
And then you have the whole Apatow making fun of each other. You know, just like, you know, it defined the early aughts. Mm-hmm. It was very indicative of the time, and I think comedy really is a perfect time capsule of the era. And what's so weird now is I don't think we've defined the new comedy of this decade.
I agree.
We're halfway through, and I can name maybe 3 comedies that were really great that I remember seeing. It just seems like because of Zaslav and all of the BS,
Right.
The BS of these studios, that they don't know how to make comedies. Vince Vaughn said something kind of interesting in a interview I read recently. He was saying that executives are afraid of comedy now because they don't know how. And it's not like, oh, woke and anti-woke.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with that. It just has to do with there isn't that. This is what's funny that you can say to an executive, and he can be. It's Judd Apatow meets this.
Yeah.
There's not that now, so it's easier to make superhero movies or stuff that people already know than try to have some comedy-defining thing. I think for me, what's kind of defining this decade are these subversive. We're going back to the high school, but with different points of view.
Right.
Whether it's Bottoms.
Yeah.
Which was hilarious. One of the funniest movies I've seen in the longest time.
Yeah.
And then that prom date movie that we watched. It's called Prom Dates or
maybe
something
like that.
But again, it was a subversive high school movie, but we're seeing it through different lenses now, rather than the horny white guy, or the dumb popular cheerleader girl. Right. We're seeing these experiences through the what used to be fringe characters, but now because people are a lot more open, they're more mainstream, and that's what I'm really enjoying, and I'm hoping we keep up with that kind of thing.
Yeah. Anyway, check out Ruthless People. It's funny. It's really good. It unfortunately ended a directing trio, but it's a good movie to kick off our Bill Pullman month.
So much, yeah.
He's so good in it.
Hilarious. It's hard to find, but it's definitely worth finding. And if you like the zazz, and you're a fan of wacky. Mistaken identity comedies and that kind of thing. You're going to love it. It was so much fun to watch, and it's also really nice just to see something that is gleefully goofy and that doesn't have to try too hard to have a message or whatever.
Right.
It just lets you have fun, take the ride, and then when you're done, kind of goes out the other ear, but you got a smile on your face.
Yeah. We'll be back next week. We're going to be covering a very different movie.
The opposite.
The Serpent in the Rainbow, or Serpent in the Rainbow, not the Serpent in the Rainbow.
Yeah. Spike through the peen.
Okay.
Ouch.
Launer was the actor. Man. Sorry.
Too much coffee.
Launer, no. Oneonta?
Onidi.
Oneonta? I don't even know how to say that.
I think it's Onanta.
Oneonta?
You know what's really weird?
Okay, just let me know how it's pronounced. Yeah, write in and tell me how I'm murdering this word.
Oneonta.
Oneonta? I'm going to say Oneonta.
Sure.
We now return you to your regularly scheduled programming, The Wonder Years, already in progress.